Another day, another story. The Pokémon series, Game Freak and Nintendo in particular, are so good at building infrastructure which the Pokémon games themselves may take advantage of. Fans have always known that these games can interlink as Pokédex cross over, narratives intertwine, and the basic principles and formats of the saga are replicated. Nintendo has also used the Pokémon series to push forward technologically, crafting intriguing new concepts and innovating with new platforms. Using Pokémon Home with Pokémon Scarlet and Violet allows you to transfer and store Pokémon between these games and other titles compatible with Pokémon Home. Here's a step-by-step guide to help you through the process. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Step 1. Prepare your accounts. Create a Pokémon Home account. If you don't already have a Pokémon Home account, download the Pokémon Home app on your mobile device or Nintendo Switch and set up your account. Ensure you have a Nintendo account. Pokémon Home requires a Nintendo account. Make sure you link your Nintendo account to Pokémon Home. Step 2. Update Pokémon Home and Scarlet and Violet. Update Pokémon Home. Ensure you have the latest version of Pokémon Home installed on your device. Update Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Make sure your copy of Pokémon Scarlet and Violet is updated to the latest version to ensure compatibility. Pokémon Home is very much a part of that strategy and is a vital tool for any Pokémon player to use. Available on a wide variety of platforms, Pokémon Home is compatible with many titles from the saga, including Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Owners of these games will thus be able to get an insight into what Pokémon Home is all about, how its benefits can be used to the player's advantage, and most importantly, how to utilize this fascinating tool with Pokémon Scarlet and Violet themselves. The Pokémon saga would be nowhere without its earliest generations, which created a franchise that has enjoyed well-earned longevity. The Pokémon series is still trying to innovate on new platforms, and the Pokémon trading card game Pocket is evidence of that. However, before this digital extension of the popular tabletop game was released, Nintendo had already put Pokémon Home into development. The very basic premise behind Pokémon Home is one of connection. The Pokémon Home app, which can be downloaded on the Nintendo Switch and mobile devices, acts as a hub between titles. Whether it's Pokémon Go, Pokémon Sword and Shield, Pokémon, Legends Arceus, or even Pokémon. Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, the hub brings together a huge variety of Nintendo Switch and mobile titles, allowing them to cross over. While of course players will need multiple games to make the most of Pokémon Home, the hub itself is free to access and thus is a vital tool in every player's handbook. The principles behind Pokémon Home come from one of the franchise's best traditions. The Pokémon Company and Game Freak have always been keen to see their games interconnect in some way. Players would log on, pass Pokémon between Pokédex, battle with their friends, trade, and interact with a multitude of other features. Pokémon Home keeps those basic ideas alive, but does so on a much grander stage. Never have so many Pokémon games been given access to interlink at the same time, and it seems that the promise to continue this into the future remains alive. Each new Pokémon title added to the lineup will also be given access to Pokémon Home, and thus that dream to have all Pokémon games sharing information with one another remains intact. It's worth noting that while other platforms like Pokémon Bank are compatible with the Pokémon Home Hub, and the Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes are also linked to the app, past titles that are available on the Nintendo Switch from yesteryear that originated on previous consoles are not currently compatible. So what can the Pokémon Home software actually do? Well, there's a premium plan that offers even more features, which players can pay for. However, the standard free option still boasts plenty of benefits. Firstly, specific Pokémon can be moved between titles and entered into the player's party at any given time. While the games themselves must be able to access those particular Pokémon, with the majority of them existing in the Pokédex, there are some exceptions to that rule. Essentially, a player may catch a particularly rare Pokémon in Pokémon Go, or any other connected Pokémon game for that matter, and decide to move them into their party in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. It's a fantastic way to vary gameplay, and a little trick to expand the Pokédex earlier in a playthrough. In this same vein, players can also trade with other players using Pokémon Home as a starting point. With 4 different methods to trade, including locally with friends and internationally with members of the community, Wonderbox, GTS, Room Trade and Friend Trade all have individual bonuses. Suddenly, gaining all those starter Pokémon or finding those rare shinies just got a little easier. Pokémon Home also features a Pokédex of its own to fill, which adds Mega Evolutions and Gigantamax versions, while also sporting storage boxes to keep multiple Pokémon in. Plus, players may gain points in the hub, which can be converted to League points. Newer updates for Pokémon Home even allow players to change the moves of a Pokémon while it is in the hub, a fantastic addition that empowers the players to customize their party to match their gameplay style the best. Gifts have been built into the mechanics of the platform, giving users bonus items as a reward for using it. What's more, players can judge their Pokémon, create rooms, check out online battle data, keep up to date with the latest news, and sort Pokémon based on key stats such as when they were caught. Bringing together the Nintendo Switch Pokémon games and mobile extras in this way has been a bold move that opened up a world of possibilities for veterans and newcomers alike. Using Pokémon Home is a really easy process, and this step-by-step guide should give all players simple access to unlock the multitude of features that lie in wait. Firstly, players will need to make sure that they have Pokémon Scarlet or Violet downloaded onto their consoles. Next, players must hop onto the Nintendo eShop and download the free-to-use Pokémon Home app. Once logging in and going through the standard setup procedure, players will then be able to select the Pokémon tab from the main menu where a Pokémon Scarlet and Violet section will appear. From there, the world is their oyster. Players can then choose to link up to other titles that appear here, as long as they have already downloaded these games onto the same Nintendo Switch. What's more, using the main menu, players can also connect to Pokémon Go, but need to download the Pokémon Home app onto their mobile device of choice. There are a lot of unique features for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet players to explore in the title, from Terra raids to the gorgeous map of Paldea. But Pokémon Scarlet and Violet also has the honor of being one of the Pokémon titles that has been brought into the Pokémon Home system. Players should get great joy out of experimenting with this platform and finding new ways to link their previous Pokémon games together. With rumors of a Nintendo Switch 2 potentially getting released in the next few years, it's unclear how Pokémon Home will evolve to cater to another generation. However, the concept set out here has the potential for significant longevity, and the Pokémon Home brand itself is absolutely a name that fans should get used to moving into the future. To get the most out of the current run of Pokémon games, download Pokémon Home today. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.